Almost inevitably, at some point during interviews or a screening call, you will get asked the following question. So, tell me about yourself. Hey, yeah, sure. Previously, I worked on a lot of embedded projects, so done C#, C++, a little bit of C here and there. I'm good at working on projects. I've contributed to a lot of cool tools on my team, improving pull request merge process by like a long time. Okay, so this was not a good way to answer that question. When someone asks you this seemingly open-ended question in a professional setting, they're actually not asking you to ramble on about random facts from your career and education for the next 5 minutes. Instead, they're asking you something very specific. What they're really saying to you is something along these lines. Hey, I didn't really have time to review your resume thoroughly, so can you please give me a summary of highlights that are on your resume that I should be paying the most attention to? Or something along the lines of, hey, let's break the ice, let's see where you take this, and then I'll go ahead and follow up with questions based on what you tell me next. How you respond is essential to kicking off a good interview because it is going to kind of set the tone and the mood of the interview and is going to guide your recruiter or an interviewer in a specific direction based on your response, because they're going to think about what you said, they're going to look at your resume or not, and they're going to decide what kind of things they want to talk about next. Your goal is to highlight things that are most relevant to the job that you're interviewing for and you're most excited to talk about. On the other hand, you want to omit things that are not that interesting to you or not that relevant to your interview. Respecting the interviewer's time is key in setting a good impression here. A screening call usually lasts about 15 to 30 minutes, and a full interview round is about an hour long, and you should aim to deliver your elevator pitch in about 1 minute. Why so short? Because interviews are packed with content and you'll need to cover a lot of different topics, including your problem-solving abilities, how well you fit the role, technical skills, and so on. Wasting time on a long-winded introduction will create a poor first impression. You do not want your recruiter to stop you and say something like, hey, let's go ahead and move on to the next topic, because that just started off your interview on a bad note. In 1 minute, you could typically fit about 150 words, which is really all that you need to make a good first impression and kind of guide the conversation in the right direction. Every word counts here, which is why I always recommend other engineers to prepare the speech ahead of time and practice it. To give you a frame of reference here, my resume is only for 112 words long, so you definitely do not want your introductory mini speech to be anywhere close to the amount of content you packed in your resume. Alright, so how does somebody actually go about preparing a really good elevator pitch before a screening call or an interview? What I recommend doing is grabbing the job description directly from the job posting and pasting it into word processor. And then pull up your resume somewhere on the side or print it out however you like it. You're going to reference that later. Now, in this case, I pulled up a senior Python/Django developer rec from LinkedIn. And the reason I pulled this up is because I don't meet all of the qualifications here. To demonstrate the importance of crafting a perfect pitch that focuses the interviewer's attention on skills and qualifications that I do have that are relevant to this job, and not on the fact that I do not meet some of the other requirements they got. Because in real world, most likely you're never going to meet all of the qualifications or preferred requirements that an employer may have. But as long as you could show them that, hey, I meet a lot of these and I am a good, strong candidate, then they'll more likely to continue the interview process with you. Once I have highlighted all of the qualifications that I want to focus on in my introduction, I then look at my resume and kind of compare the two and see which bullet points, which experiences I can draw from to go ahead and craft my introduction. Now, sometimes this is also a good time to kind of review your resume and maybe change some of the verbiage so that it better matches the job description. Once you've chosen the key points you want to highlight off your resume, craft a short narrative that connects your bullet points by adding transitions between them and making your speech flow as naturally as possible. You can use AI to assist you with this. It's not really that big of a deal because your speech doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to be concise, straight to the point, and quick. Cut out all the fluff and obvious statements. For example, if you're applying for a software engineering role and all of your experience is as a software engineer before this, there's really no need for you to say that, hey, I am a software engineer. That's already understood by everyone. Instead, focus on accomplishments, strength, and specific contributions that make you a standout candidate for that specific role. As a side note here, you're likely going to be interviewed by another engineer, and engineers lack time. So whoever is interviewing you, if you put yourself in their shoes, is going to think, oh wow, this person values my time. They came prepared and gave me just the facts that I need for this specific meeting, which translates into, if I hire this person, they're going to be prepared and straight to the point whenever we have a meeting, and that is an important soft skill to have. All right, now it is time for the better elevator pitch example based off my resume and a job description that I showed you before. I have been a software engineer for over 4 years, specializing in Python, test automation, and mentoring small teams. At John Deere, I led a team implementing software-in-a-loop and hardware-in-a-loop infrastructure, boosting test coverage by 40%. I also Dockerized .NET tools and optimized cross-platform CI/CD pipeline, leveraging GitHub Actions and reducing pipeline costs by 75%. During my time at Tesla, I worked on automating manual tests using the PyTest framework, significantly improving the reliability and speed of firmware validation. I have consistently delivered solutions that enhance efficiency, such as my Python tool I designed to streamline pull requests, merge conflicts, saving 45 minutes per pull request on my team. Beyond coding, I've taken on leadership roles like running daily stand-ups and retrospective ceremonies for a team of 13 engineers and mentoring junior team members through pair programming and consistent code reviews. I have also organized an object-oriented design patterns book club to encourage continuous improvement and foster collaboration between adjacent teams. Not perfect, but I think it's a lot better than the example I gave you in the beginning of this video where I kind of fumbled over words and had really no purpose of where I wanted to take my introduction. Where in this case, it was very much tailored to the specific job description. And thankfully, this type of speech does not take a very long time to prepare. Again, you just pull up your resume on one side, the job description on the other, and pull out the key points that you want to emphasize in your introduction. Your elevator pitch is your first impression following your resume, and a strong, tailored response can set the tone for a successful interview, while a weak one might derail it from the start. So I highly recommend that you take the time to prepare, practice, and refine your pitch before your interview. If you made it this far into the video, I thank you, and I do have a bonus tip for you. Your project section of your resume is really how you could fill some of the gaps that you may have in the job description. For example, like in this case, they're definitely looking not just for a Python developer, but for a Django developer, because it's the top thing in their qualifications. It's like the first bullet point. It's probably the most important. What I can do in this case is take one of my projects and convert it to Django. I have a software engineering blog directory website that's actually generated using Python statically, but I could take a couple of hours and convert it to Django, re-add it to my resume with a new keyword, and also integrate it into my introduction.